Okay, as we are in the holiday season, I thought I just might tell some of my own Christmas stories, some of which are legends and traditions in my family. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Christmas of 1987. I was 7 turning 8, and the big toy on the market that year was the Ghostbuster Firehouse, the headquarters for the Ghostbuster action figures. I was a huge Ghostbuster fan, still am, and both my cousin and I wanted a Ghostbuster Firehouse for Christmas. Uh, well, our parents were searching every store, could not find one. My uncle called my mother, said, tried Orland, I've tried Ford City, they're nowhere. My mother called the Toys R Us in Maryville, and they said they had a truck coming to deliver some that evening. And so my dad drove out in the blizzard, and he finally gets there. He asks the security guard where to find the firehouses. He points to the aisle. There were 2 of them left, and he takes both, one for me, one for my cousin, and he's carrying one under each arm on his way to the cash register, because, they were about 3 feet tall, this wide, and this lady comes up to him, running up from behind him. She says, "Hey, you can't have 2," and she tries to tug one away from him. Then she starts hitting him with a roll of wrapping paper, and the security had to restrain her. She says, "He can't have 2." The security guard says, "Yes, he can." Well, they finally told me and my cousin that story once we were too old to believe in Santa Claus. So that's that story. Now, the other one is the Christmas of 1992, which will be forever remembered in my family as the year my grandma was missing. Okay, every year my father's side of the family gathered at our grandmother's house on Christmas Eve to exchange gifts and have chicken, and yes, there's Polish rednecks. We carry out chicken on Christmas Eve. Used to be Chicken Galore, now it's Popeyes, now that it's just us on Christmas, usually. When my cousin, who's now in California, when she told her boyfriend out there that her family eats takeout chicken on Christmas Eve, he was like, "What?" Well, that's off tangent to get back on tangent. We were getting together at my grandmother's house that Christmas Eve, and my aunt called my grandmother and says, "I'm picking up the chicken, you don't have to get it." So, she arrives at my grandmother's house at 5 p.m. My other aunt and uncle arrived there at 5:30, and my grandmother's nowhere to be found. Now, at this point, she was an early stage of Alzheimer's, and she died 5 years later. So, eventually, we all get there, and no grandma. And we thought, well, maybe she forgot. My aunt called her and went to get the chicken. My uncle went out to look. He came back. He said, "I tried Chicken Galore. I tried church." We said, "Did you check the Civic Center?" Because she belonged to some group or something that met at the Hammond Civic Center. My uncle says, No, maybe I should have. We said, you go check the Civic Center. So we went out and checked the Civic Center, and we decided to call the police. And, so this cop comes over, and he begins, filling out a missing person report, asking us questions as he fills out the report. And he couldn't spell anything. We had to spell everything for this cop. It was hilarious. And then he's almost finished filling out the report, and then my uncle walks in, and he says, I got the whole report filled out at the gas station. Or maybe he said police station, I remember gas station, but whatever. Yeah, just as he's almost finished filling out the report, it turns out a report's already been filled out and filed. So, cop leaves, we exchange gifts, we have dinner, we play in the basement, the whole 9 yards. Oh, by the way, a few years after this incident, when we moved my grandmother into a nursing home and were cleaning out the house, we pick up a chair in the basement. There was a plate of chicken under the stairs from that Christmas. Turned out one of my cousins was the culprit who put it there. But to get back on tangent, and in the meantime, we sent out search parties to, try to find her. We searched every side street in Hammond, Munster, Calumet City, and East Chicago. Couldn't find her. We went home. My father and some of my aunts and uncles stayed at the house, just in case. They spent the night there. And then about 1 in the morning, the state police found her in Valpo. Basically, she said she was going to Sturk's for milk and cookies, which we don't know why. She had half a gallon of milk in her fridge and a whole jar full of cookies. She forgot where she was going, and how she ended up in Valpo, we don't know, because, but she apparently stopped for directions a few times. We found a set of directions in her pocket, another on the seat of her car. I guess she stopped at a gas station, and the attendant thought she was lost, and he called the police, and the state police matched her with our description. The state police brought her home. So it's next morning, and they said, where were you all night? She says, well, I was in bed all night. Where were you all night? He says, no, you were missing all night. We were here. My dad was sleeping in her bed that night. She says, oh, you're crazy. Well, anyway, we took the car away from her after that, which confused her for a while. She wanted to go to church that day. We said, no, you don't need to go to church. It's Saturday. Oh, we'll talk about it tomorrow then. But and then a few months later, she walked to Calumet City, and someone thought she looked lost. And that's when we moved her into a nursing home. Anyway, we jokingly suggested making a movie of that with Bronson Pinchot, who played Balky on Perfect Strangers, playing my dad, and Bill Murray playing my uncle. Okay, but just thought it would be interesting to share some of those holiday stories with you. So, enjoy the season.